Hi everyone. Okay, so we have a nut, well that's a bolt, and we have a nut here, we have a nut and a bolt. What do these have to do with your health and arthritis? Okay, so if I take this bolt and this nut and I thread this nut on here, and I thread it on, and I throw this outside, toss it outside in the rain, we all can probably agree that that's going to rust. All right, we'll get a little bit of surface rust on it. Eventually, if I left it out there and did nothing, it would rust together. I think we can all agree on that. But interestingly enough, if I came out and every few days, I took this off and put it back on, I took it completely off and put it back on, threaded it all the way on, all the way off, up and down a couple times, and threw it back out in the rain, the interesting thing about this is that all we would ever get is a little bit of surface rust. It would never actually, the nut would actually never rust to the bolt. And that's important because movement is generally what would prevent that from occurring, is we would move this so it would never happen, all right? And the better we wanted this to move, the newer we wanted it to stay, the better we wanted to function, the more movement we need to occur. So we need to have this be threaded all the way on and all the way off, and then it can actually take a ton of abuse as long as, from the weather if you will, as long as things stay moving. But as soon as things get sedentary and they're left alone to do nothing, this will rust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go outside and I'm just going to show you a nut and a bolt that have not been moved in years. Now somebody left a basketball goal out behind in the woods, kind of behind our house. Why they would want to just leave it there and not take care of the environment, I'm not sure, but that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is your body is no different than this. If it doesn't move, it stays sedentary, it wears out faster. So let's go out and I'm going to show you that. All right, so I'm walking into the woods here, trying to climb under some debris, some bushes, some spider webs, and I'm going to show you what happens. And I know you've all seen this before. I'm not trying to teach you something new here necessarily on this, but I want to show you what happens when something just sits there and doesn't get moved. Okay, so give me a second, I'll flip this around. All right, so here's an example of a nut and a bolt that's never been moved. Okay, somebody put that on there and then it got stuck out in the woods. Maybe it was being used at some point at their home, but it got stuck out in the woods and it's never been removed from there, never been taken off, never been threaded on and off, and here it is, rusting together. Like those are actually stuck together. Now, does it mean they can't come apart? Well, not at this point. They actually look like they could still come apart. Maybe a little WD-40, some elbow grease, and you can get those nuts and bolts to come off. And what we see in our office every day, and I'm going to show you some pictures of this, is we see people's x-rays and it looks like they haven't moved in forever. Actually, the bones, you kind of look at them and go, wow, they still look like bones, but they're all jagged and the discs have degenerated. And this is what happens in people's knees and their shoulders and their hips, and they just don't move through their full range of motion, so they rust, if you will. That's just an analogy. But I wanted to show you this because you need to stay moving. You need to move through your full range of motion on a regular basis, or you get stiff and things wear out prematurely. So this is just a good example of it. I'm going to show you that x-ray here in a moment, and hopefully you find this helpful. Bye now. Okay, so in an effort just to kind of wrap this up, here's normal, right? So this would be that bolt where, and that nut where everything looks fine, things are moving well. Moving forward, we see things are not lined up right. They've stopped moving. If they moved correctly, they would be lined up right. So they stop moving, and then look, it looks like they're starting to rust. Okay, it's not really rust, but this is arthritis. Okay, so we have bone spurs, we have disc degeneration. So this is where we go, all right, things have not been moving for a very long time and they're starting to rust. We need things to move, and then if they stay that way, they grow all together. And once they've grown all together, just like a rusty nut and bolt, I mean, short of breaking it apart, there's not much you can do. So take care to make sure things are moving properly in your body. Make sure you're doing all your stretches. Make sure you're seeing a chiropractor for your spine and your joints getting adjusted. Make sure you stay moving. Take care.